You ever have that quiet moment where you realize you don't actually know where your life is going right now? Not in a dramatic, falling apart kind of way, just the slow, heavy feeling that creeps in when things get quiet. Like you're moving, but not really going anywhere. Like you're busy, but still stuck. That feeling messes with your head because you don't always have a clear reason for it. Nothing is technically wrong, yet something feels off. And the more you try to ignore it, the louder it gets. Feeling lost usually doesn't hit all at once. It builds. First you feel tired all the time, then unmotivated, then disconnected, then one day you catch yourself thinking, what am I even doing? And once that thought shows up, it doesn't leave easily. The hardest part is watching life keep moving while you feel frozen. Days pass, weeks stack up, everyone else seems to be making progress and you're just here, thinking, waiting, wondering if you missed something important. But feeling lost doesn't mean you failed. It usually means you're between versions of yourself. And nobody talks about how uncomfortable that space is. Most people grow up believing life is supposed to make sense. Pick a path, follow it, and things work out. But real life doesn't move in a straight line. It loops, it stalls, it forces you to stop and rethink things you thought they were already decided. When you feel lost, your mind turns against you. You replay old choices, you imagine different outcomes, you compare yourself to people your age, you start believing you're behind even though there's no official timeline you're supposed to be following. And slowly, without realizing, you stop trusting yourself. That loss of trust is the real issue, not confusion, not lack of direction. It's the feeling that no matter what choice you make, it won't work out. So you hesitate, you overthink, you stay still. Here's something that doesn't get said enough. Most people you think have everything figured out are guessing too. They just look calm while doing it. You don't see the uncertainty, the doubt, the pressure. You're comparing your internal mess to someone else's polished surface. Feeling lost can come from a lot of places. Sometimes it's after failing at something you cared about. Sometimes it's after succeeding and realizing it didn't fix how you thought it would feel. Sometimes it's after a change, a breakup, a move, losing a routine that gave your life structure. Suddenly, the future you imagined disappears, and nobody hands you a replacement plan, so you freeze. And the longer you freeze, the harder it feels to move. Not because moving is impossible, but because staying still feels safer than choosing wrong. This is where most people get stuck, asking questions that are way too big. What am I supposed to do with my life? What's my purpose? What if I waste more time? Those questions sound deep, but they usually just overwhelm you. They make everything feel heavy and urgent at the same time. And when everything feels urgent, you end up doing nothing. A better question, a much more useful one, is simple. What's the next small step? When you're lost, clarity doesn't come from sitting around thinking harder. It comes from movement. Small, imperfect movement. That step might look boring, it might feel unimpressive, it might not even feel connected to some bigger plan yet. That's okay. Movement creates feedback. Feedback creates direction. Staying still only makes your thoughts louder. Another thing that makes feeling lost worse is isolation. When you don't know what you're doing, you tend to pull away. You stop talking, you keep everything in your head, and the longer your thoughts stay trapped, the more extreme they get. Sometimes, one honest conversation can change the weight of everything. You don't need advice, you don't need solutions. Just saying, I don't know what I'm doing right now, can feel like finally putting a bag down after carrying it too long. And then there is comparison. Comparison is brutal when you're already unsure. You scroll, You look around, everyone else seems confident, focused, ahead. What you don't see is timing. You don't see how many wrong turns people took before they landed where they are. You don't see the years that felt just as confusing for them. Your path is allowed to look different. Your pace is allowed to be different. There is no universal schedule you're late to, even though it feels like there is. Being lost doesn't mean you're off track. Sometimes it means the track you were on no longer fits who you're becoming. That realization hurts because it means letting go of old plans, old identities, old expectations, but growth usually asks you to release something before it gives you something new. One mistake people make during this phase is rushing into something just to escape the discomfort, picking a direction just so they don't feel stuck anymore. Later, they realize they weren't moving towards something meaningful, they were running from uncertainty. Stillness isn't always a problem. Sometimes it's a pause, a reset, a chance to listen instead of react. But there is difference between resting and hiding. Rest gives you energy, hiding drains it. A simple way to tell the difference is asking yourself whether your stillness makes you feel clearer or heavier. One helps you, the other keeps you stuck. Fear plays a huge role when you feel lost. Fear of choosing wrong, fear of wasting time, fear of starting over, fear of realizing you should have changed earlier. Here is something grounding. There is no perfect choice. There are only choices you commit to and learn from. Most wrong turns don't ruin your life. They teach you things you couldn't learn any other way. Avoiding choices altogether usually causes the most regret. And if you feel like you've already wasted time, understand this. Time will keep passing whether you act or not. Starting now is always better than waiting for the moment when fear magically disappears. These things don't solve everything, but they stabilize you, and stability makes thinking clearer. You don't find direction by panicking, you find it by creating space to breathe. Here's the part that matters most. You are not behind, you are not broken, and you are definitely not failing. You are learning. Life doesn't move in straight lines. The people who grow the most usually went through long periods where nothing made sense. Those periods force you to slow down, to question, to rebuild from a more honest place. One day you'll look back at this phase and realize it stripped away things that weren't meant to last. It made you more aware of what actually matters to you, not what you thought was supposed to matter. Right now, patience matters more than answers. If all you can do today is get through the day, that counts. If all you can do is take one small step, that counts. Progress isn't always loud or obvious, but it adds up. You don't need to know exactly where you're going to keep moving. You just need to keep going. Being lost isn't the end of your story. It's usually the middle, the uncomfortable part where things stop making sense before they start making sense again. So take a breath. You're allowed to be here. You're allowed to be unsure. You're allowed to take your time. Just don't give up on yourself. If this connected with you, watch the next video on the screen.